Wake up to reality.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
Conspiracy theories that actually ended up being real. This conspiracy talks about how Bad Bunny is actually Crazy Frog. Crazy, I know, but listen to this. This conspiracy started going around when people started to hear the resemblance between Bad Bunny and Crazy Frog's voice. Check this out. Now, many people thought the ones who believed this were crazy and didn't believe them, until Bad Bunny had this to say.
Hay otros que lo ven como un trabajo.
And when you translate it, he says this: I am Crazy Frog.
Conspiracy theories the world isn't ready for part 1. I know this sounds crazy, but Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters is actually the same person as the drummer from Nirvana. The resemblance is uncanny. They both became famous in the 90s and probably moved in the same circles, but has anyone ever seen them in the same room together?
What's a conspiracy theory that no one can convince you isn't true because somehow it just makes sense? I'll go first. All ancient civilizations were somehow connected. There are so many unexplainable similarities between civilizations that just never connected. And by that I mean they were literally oceans apart. I mean they weren't exactly going to jump on a Boeing 747 back in the day. Now I'm not even going to touch on the fact that everyone and their grandmother liked to build pyramids that were in the same shape as Orion's belt. Or that the gods that they worshipped were incredibly similar. So I'm going to focus on these bad boys. Now when we think of these heads, we think of the tiny island in the middle of the ocean 2,000 miles away from any landmass. The infamous Easter Island. Now these megalithic heads are known as Maui. Now only recently did we discover there's not just the heads, and there's actually 30 feet of a body buried underground on each statue. The first sus moment is the fact that all 30 feet of body is buried under tons and tons of sediment. Now scientists have actually asked the question, is it possible for this much sediment to build up in only 700 years and cover 30 feet of a body on a remote island? That was really hard to say, but basically no, they don't think it is. The second sus moment is the fact that ancient civilizations all had their own statues and they share a striking resemblance to the ones on Easter Island. And once again, Easter Island is 2,000 miles away from any landmass. Don't believe me? Let me show you. First up, we've got the cloud people of Peru, the bearded gods on Boa Island in Ireland, the statues in Mesoamerica. We have some in Mexico, casually chilling in Indonesia. We have this one in Turkey. Also notice how in most of the statues, all of the hands are the same. And one in Göbekli Tepe. All from cultures who apparently never met. Now don't get me wrong, I don't have the answer to this conspiracy theory, but there just seems to be a lot of coincidences that just don't seem like coincidences. I'm excited to see what conspiracy theories you guys believe. Now share this with a friend to completely blow their mind. Now everyone with me.
What if I told you that there's a possibility that the Statue of Liberty is actually a statue dedicated to Lucifer? The left is a painting made in the 17th century, known as Satan summoning his legion. Now the devil's original name in the Bible was known as Lucifer, or in Hebrew, Hellel, which means the light bearer or the bringer of light. Now the Statue of Liberty is holding a torch. It's bearing the light. Now the Statue of Liberty looks awfully similar to the Colossus of Rhodes. Now the Colossus of Rhodes was one of the ancient wonders of the world. It was a bronze Greek statue. It was about 108 feet tall. And just like the Statue of Liberty, the Colossus of Rhodes has a crown of light. It's holding a torch. This statue was dedicated to the Greek god Helios, the god of the sun, the god of the light. In fact, many Luciferians refer to the devil as the great light. And this painting of Satan summoning his legion looks awfully similar to the face of the Statue of Liberty. I mean, take a look. Looks pretty similar to me. But it's just a theory. Who knows?
You guys need to see this video. She tried to tell us before she passed away.
Are you on a fast right now? Somebody said you're
Yes,
fasting.
I am.
How long is the fast going to last?
40 days.
And where are you now?
11.
And how does it feel?
It feels wonderful.
Do you have any food at all? Any substance?
Yeah, well, no, I drink juice, water, drink sea moss.
Sea moss?
Sea moss.
And what does that do for you?
Sea moss, well, see, the body is comprised of 102 minerals, and sea moss is 99 of them.
No kidding.
So
So you're feeling good?
yeah.
The top 5 scariest conspiracy theories. At number 5, we have the Dyatlov Pass incident. In Russia during 1959, 9 healthy people died from a ski truck with no explainable details. Investigators revealed the tent ripped from the inside out and strange wounds were found on the victims' bodies. Some of the bodies were found to be highly radioactive. Coming in at number 4, we have MK Ultra. In the 1950s, the CIA began to conduct secret research into mind control. They wanted to see how the use of certain substances such as LSD and other extreme psychological experiences affected the human brain. They performed it on these subjects without their consent. At number 3, we have the Men in Black. This theory revolves around the fact that Men in Black are said to turn up after every UFO sighting and have done so since the 50s. At number 2, we have the Roswell incident. In 1947, the military retracted a statement saying they captured a flying saucer and instead it was a crash weather balloon. At number 1, we have the Philadelphia experiment. During World War II, it's believed scientists were working for the U.S. Navy to make a ship that could be invisible. They say that ship, the USS Eldridge, docked in Philadelphia during 1940.
You know about the door theory?
No.
So take this in. Every single door, or like the normal doors they use in a house, they have a cross and a Bible placed into the door. You see it? The symbol of a cross and a Bible are in the door.
I've always noticed that as a kid.
Yeah?
Like like not all doors, but like majority of doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a cross.
The regular door, you know that shape?
Yeah.
So the top part is a cross, and then the bottom is an open Bible. Look at it.
Yeah, no, I do see it like that.
So what they used to do is they made it like that to keep away evil spirits from entering your home.
You know what's crazy?
What?
My old house didn't have that. It was just a wooden, like each was just wooden. That's why I say not all doors.
Yeah.
Because I did like.
It was just flat?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Do you have any like ghost stories at that house?
Man, yeah.
You do?
Yeah. Like.
Government conspiracies that actually turned out to be true. Warning, some of these will make you doubt your government. The first theory that was proven to be true is that the CIA created a heart attack gun. The theory states that the CIA built a secret weapon in the 60s and 70s that could cause a fatal heart attack. The weapon shot a small dart that left nothing behind except for a small red dot on the skin. The target would only feel a small prick, kind of like a bug bite, but would be poisoned. Poison would also not be detected in an autopsy. The next one is actually crazy. In fact, my mom couldn't even believe this one. Another theory proven to be accurate includes the government poisoning alcohol. When the government banned alcohol in 1920, bootleggers would steal industrial alcohol used in paints, fuels, and solvents, and medical supplies and re-distill it for sale. In an attempt to stop people from drinking alcohol, the government changed the formulas of industrial alcohol to make it completely undrinkable. More than 10,000 individuals died because of this. Comment below for part 2.
Welcome to theories about the universe that may or may not change your entire perspective on life. Warning, potential existential crisis incoming. So this first one says that if someone were to figure out exactly what the universe was and what its purpose was, then it would just poof and come back as something even more peculiar, and as an extension, maybe this has already happened and it's just a vicious cycle. There's a theory that our universe is just one single atom, and all of the atoms that we're made up of are also smaller universes, and this scale is infinite. Girl, I don't even think I understand this one, and I honestly don't even know if it makes sense, so bear with me. So some people theorize that time is just one giant loop, and as it goes around and around, we advance more and more. So for example, the pyramids were actually built in our version of the future, but it was actually the beginning of the previous loop. This would explain why we can't figure out exactly how they were built. This one just makes my brain hurt. I'm curious to know what other people think. And finally, the meaning of life is for the universe to experience itself.
World's Most Dangerous Conspiracy Theories, Season 2. This picture represents conspiracy theories from the most well-known to the darkest. Some of these theories say that once you learn the truth, there's no return. For this series, we're going to be picking a couple from each category until we reach Tier 10, the point of no return. Alright, Season 2, welcome to Tier 1. Today, we're going to be talking about Ouija boards. A Ouija board is a board printed with numbers, letters, and symbols in hopes of communicating with the dead. The history of the Ouija board is just as mysterious as the game itself. A woman named Helen Peters claimed to be a very strong psychic and actually invented the board herself. help. Eventually, Helen Peters' brother-in-law named Elijah wanted to get these things patented so that he could sell these everywhere. Helen Peters and Elijah traveled everywhere trying to get this patent, but the offices said they couldn't release a patent unless they had proof of it working. But consequently, nobody in these offices wanted to even get close to the board for unknown reasons. Until one day they traveled to Washington, D.C., and the chief of patent walked in the room and said, "You don't know me and I don't know you." Then he said, "If this board can tell me my name, I will sign the patent for you right now." The board apparently spelled the man's name. He walked out of the office, looked at Helen Peters and said, "You got your patent." Years later, Helen Peters and Elijah had a falling out, and Helen said she no longer wanted anything to do with this board. Elijah, on the other hand, continued selling these boards until one day he fell off of a 3-story building. He actually survived the fall, and some bystanders saw his body laying in the road. They picked him up, put him in the car, and they hit a bump in the road and his broken rib pierced through his heart. After that, the family sold the rights to the board, and all the way up until Helen Peters' death, her last words is, "Do not play the Ouija board, it lies." And now you can buy a Ouija board from any store and they're marketed to children. So the question remains, are these boards just a hoax, or was Helen Peters trying to warn us of something much darker? Make sure to like and follow for tier 2.
Yes, we can, and it has to do with cave systems, Native American folklore, and a giant cover-up by the US government under the direction of Teddy Roosevelt and the National Park Service. Allow me to explain. The United States is crisscrossed by a series of extremely complex and mostly unexplored cave systems that go under the Appalachian, Rocky, and other smaller mountain ranges. Native American monsters like the Wendigo like to inhabit these caves. Short answer for why that is that they're so consumed by their desire for human flesh that they have no real sentience any longer. So they don't really think to build shelters, they just live in caves. And of course, Teddy Roosevelt, being the avid outdoorsman he was and a believer in Bigfoot, knew about these creatures. He knew that they were hunting people. He started the National Park Service so that he could have actual special forces kind of corral these things into areas where they could be managed and possibly killed, or at the very least, keep people away from them. Now, why are people allowed in the national park? Well, because if you put off a lot of federal land and said you can't go here, people would ask questions. So those people getting lost are just collateral damage at this point.
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities. We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But
we are concerned about troubling and irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Mercedes have added neon accents to their car, which make their driver numbers easier to see now. My conspiracy theory here is that when it would benefit Mercedes, Toto plans to cite an obscure rule that is actually in the rulebook that states that driver numbers must be clearly visible. On most cars, they are not clearly visible, as anybody who has ever been to an F1 race in person will tell you. I think it's very possible Toto knows this rule and plans sometime this season to go, hey, look, you see that car that beat us? They actually have not visible driver numbers on their car. Whereas we, Mercedes, have very visible driver numbers. They're neon yellow, the most visible color there is. So please penalize them accordingly. That's my conspiracy theory,
and I'm sticking to it.
And despite me saying that that is secretly 6 ounces of liquor, you guys want more food conspiracy theories? Fine. Did you know that you only like bacon because people in the industry made you like bacon? In the 1980s, the pork industry was losing a ton of money. That's because in the 80s we were all about being fit. But with that, the pork industry needed to sell their lower cuts of meat. So they teamed up with the CEO of Hardee's to try and push meats that are lower cut in exchange for selling a lot of their bacon at a loss. After that, the pork industry sold a lot of products that said "I love bacon" t-shirts and bacon chapstick, bacon jam, baking wrapping paper, and yes, baking lube. Up until the point where in 2008, 7 out of 1 million babies in the US were named bacon. And this is all while reports were coming out that bacon causes cancer. So what's an easy way to make everybody overlook that? Make loving bacon a personality trait. Not gonna tell you to stop loving bacon. I'm gonna tell you that that wasn't your idea to like bacon.